we're waiting for Sanjeev to come back. He needed to take a short personal break. He'll be back in a minute. So for those of you that are here, even if you don't live in Lakeway, I do not live in Lakeway. I'm not a voter in Lakeway, but I am eager to hear from all of these candidates because, of course, like all of us, we have lots of friends in Lakeway, and we can make recommendations or guide them to this video so that they can learn for themselves. I'm getting a lot of feedback all of a sudden.
Back up a little bit.
Is that why?
Speaker, yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's because I put a chair in front of that speaker. I don't know.
The one's above you. The one's above you.
Okay. Anyway, so I think it's fruitful for all of us, even if you are not a voter in Lakeway. I think it'll be good. I'm excited. So I guess I'll talk about the election. If you don't know, early vote starts on April 19th. It goes through April 27th. Election day will be May 1st. You can vote at the Lakeway Activity Center or the Bee Cave, what's it called? Bee Cave, City Hall, yes, Bee Cave City Hall. If you would like to volunteer as a poll worker, now is the time to do that. Now is the time to apply with Travis County. If you would like to volunteer as a poll watcher, each of these candidates are allowed to appoint at least one person to follow the votes to Travis County. If you don't know, our votes are tabulated at Travis County on Airport Boulevard. They're not tabulated locally, they're tabulated by county officials. This is something that concerns me, if you don't know. That office is under criminal investigation right now for violating election law. So one thing that I really care about that is not one of the questions, but I'd like to see us tabulate our votes locally, bring that task back to the community. Not very many people. So in 2018, I think about 2,500 people voted in the City of Lakeway election. I think that we can count 2,500 ballots and not send that to the county. So anyway, that's something. I was just killing time.
Okay, it's not my fault. The ladies have taken over the gents' bathroom. I just wanted to clarify, it doesn't take me that long to go to the restroom.
Okay, so if you don't know, the mayor position is up for re-election this year. These two gentlemen, Mr. Tom Kilgore and Alan Babin, are both running for mayor. And then 3 positions are open for council members. And it works a little bit different than the Lake Travis election in that the 3 candidates that get the most votes will be the 3 candidates that win the election. So we have 4 of those candidates with us today. One of the candidates is not here, but I appreciate everybody that came. All right, we're gonna get started. Incumbents. Gretchen Vance is an incumbent that's running for re-election. Sanjeev is an incumbent running for re-election. And that's it, everybody else is new. So that's exciting. First, we're gonna let the candidates all introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight to listen to us talk about us. So my name is Gretchen Vance, and I have served on the Lakeway City Council for the last 22 months, and it's been a really enjoyable thing for me. One thing I take pride in is that if you send me an email, I'm going to send you an email back, and that is a little bit lost on some elected officials. I'm not necessarily on council, but just some elected officials in general. I think it's one of the most important things you can do, which is have commentary with the people who elected you. So I'm the mother of 8 children. I listen to people all the time. My husband, 9th in that line, but I do listen to you, and he's here today, so it's my husband, Bobby. We have 1 child left in school, Bailey, who is a senior at Lake Travis High School, and she's heading to Baylor to join her brother, who's up at Baylor Law. She will be a acrobatics and tumbling athlete on their acrobatics and tumbling team, so we're looking forward to her, just having her right up the road. My background is in special events. I've done special events from Red Bull Air Race to events all over the world. So it's been a little bit weird for me to kind of be home for the last year. I haven't traveled. There were times where I was traveling more than 150,000 miles a year. And so to be staying put is really unusual for me. But I've enjoyed serving on council. There's a lot of things we've done. There's a lot of things we still have to do. And looking forward to talking to you guys about that tonight. But again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jennifer, for setting this up. I'm Sanjeev Kumar. I've been on the council for the last 22 months along with Gretchen. My background is I'm an engineer and a lawyer. I spent 2 decades doing technology work, so you can either credit me to some extent or blame me for all the evils in this world because of the iPod, iPhone ecosystem. The first 7 generations of iPods, the processors were run by my startup company, which I took public on NASDAQ and sold it to another public company. And I started doing some community work after I moved to Texas, set up a new Rotary Club, was the president of the Rotary Club, was part of the Patriot Fund of Lakeway. We raised about $375,000 for wounded vets, sat on the city's ethics board, charter review committee, got bored with my life, decided I need to go back to do something productive and decided to go to law school. So now I'm a managing partner at a boutique law firm. I practice in the areas of intellectual property, so your patents, trademarks, copyrights, business law, as well as some estate planning and probate work. On the council side, as I said, I originally served on the ethics board and the charter review committee. I have been your council member for the last 2 years, so hopefully I have done something decent enough for you guys to like, and that's why I'm here to ask for your vote. I've lived in Lakeway now, I guess this summer it will be 15 years. I got a very nice wife, and she has supported me in everything I've done. I have 2 beautiful daughters who are almost out of the house. The younger one will finish her law degree this May from UT. And even though we have been empty nesters for almost 7 years, we really have not, because she went to UT for her bachelor's and went for 1 year for mission work to Japan, came back and went to UT Law for the last 2.5 years. So she has kept on visiting us. So now that she'll be gone, that will be the test of time in terms of being empty nesters. So I guess you guys will come to know more about it from the answers to the question. So thank you.
And I think I'm going to sit because I know that those are going to really blind me if I stand up. Keith, you may want to do the same thing. My name is Kelly Brentison, and I'm running for Lakeway City Council. I have been a resident since 2007. When my husband and I were engaged, we left Minnesota. We left for Texas values. That's what we were seeking out. He had lived here in the early 1990s, working for Ernst & Young, and he always wanted to come back to Austin. One drive through Lakeway, I was sold. Literally, I came through down the hill. The community was beautiful, and that was the last house that we looked at. I said, this is it. We packed up and moved down here. We have now, of course, am married, have 2 small children. My daughter is at Lakeway Elementary, and I have a 4-year-old little rambunctious boy. One of the reasons why I am running for Lakeway is for their future. I set out to build a life here in Lakeway with the point that we would actually come here and die here. Now I do have several decades, God willing, behind that, and we would like to continue the legacy that Lakeway was built on, the values. One of the things that I'm going to continue looking at is using my experience in competitive intelligence. I'm a competitive intelligence professional. A lot of you are probably like, what is competitive intelligence? What is this new term? It is the fastest growing department, CI department or C-level executive in Fortune 500 companies. What we do is we take in data, we analyze it, come up with very strategic ideas that are very innovative to companies. So that is the experience from that. One of the things that I'm very proud of, though, is my very long history of giving back to the community through nonprofit work. Some of the nonprofits that I've worked with are Mac Jack and McConaughey, and yes, it is that McConaughey, CC4C, the Rise School of Austin, Lakeway Elementary PTO. I actually am one of the community liaisons for new entering students. So when they come into Lakeway Elementary, I can introduce them to the school. Unfortunately, we're COVID right now, so it's a little bit harder. And then get them familiar with the community. But the one that I'm the most proud of is my husband and I started a nonprofit that gives back to military veterans. We are extremely thankful for the freedoms that we have because there are certain people that stepped up to the plate and gave their life to sacrifice for us. Because of that, we're thankful, and the least we can do is give back to them. So I have a lot of that nonprofit work, and I would like to use that experience that I have towards looking at the commissions and the committee policies that we have here. Thank you.
Yeah, the lights aren't better standing up either. My name is Keith Trecker. I'm running for Lakeway City Council, and I'd appreciate your vote. I've been in Lakeway for 9 years. My wife and I moved here, and I got started with the city very early. I was on the City Building Commission. I moved to Zoning and Planning Commission, where I was chairman for a year, and then I was on City Council for 2 terms. So I think I can get elected and start on the first day to help everybody. I know that people have various concerns, which we're going to get into, I think. But my goal is to serve all the citizens and not just segments. This is a widely diverse city now, at least diverse in geographically. We have people up in Rough Hollow, younger crowd, of course, Old Lakeway, all over. Everybody needs representation, and that's what I want to do. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name's Alan Babbitt. I'm a candidate for mayor. I've lived in Lakeway for the last 3.5 years. I just recently retired in 2019, the end of 2019, after a 34-year career in law enforcement. I spent the last 15 years that law enforcement career in administration. My last 5 years was as an assistant chief, so I was basically an assistant director of a large department. In that role as an assistant director, I worked daily with the city manager, the mayor, the city council, and all the other department heads. We planned, we budgeted, we worked on strategic planning and vision and goals for the future. We looked at transportation issues and the issues of bringing in large venues, and I'll use Kalahari as an example. That's a 1,000-room hotel. I'm sorry, it's 995. The owner never wants to build more than 995. He's got some superstition about 1,000. Anyways, it's a roughly 1,000-room hotel. That is a huge venue that was built right across the street from the Express Stadium. So one of the things that we looked at as a department head is to see what that impact would be on traffic. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to manage that traffic flow as well as the express traffic flow and not create any more problems or any unsafe issues. That's the kind of work that I did in my last 15 years, and really in my last 5 years. I managed a $27 million budget. I had over 250 personnel that I managed, as well as in the police department. I worked closely with other municipal and state and federal governments as well. We built our partnerships with those agencies and those entities to ensure that we had adequate resources, not only from them, but to provide them as well. Like Keith, I love this community. We fell in love with this community back in 2008. When we first came out here, we decided that this was the place we were going to retire. In 2012, we bought our property here. In 2017, a house was built for our son, who's a combat wounded soldier from Iraq. That was built by Garrison East. So we've been here, like I said, for 3.5 years. I have this passion to continue to serve. I want to continue to serve and be a part of the city, and being mayor is the way I think I can serve best, because I have a unique set of skills that I can bring based on my past experience in municipal government. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Kilgore. I knew Lakeway was special. We had decided to retire in 2015, and having been stationed at Fort Hood a number of times, decided we would come back to Central Texas rather than return to Houston. And I knew Lakeway was special because when we drove into the city proper, my realtor went 30 miles an hour. And not a fraction of a mile an hour over 30. So that told me this was a special community, because we did the rest of Austin at much higher speed. Anyway, so a couple years ago, I received a text message from a leader in this community, and that leader said, Tom, if you want to serve this city, if you want to lead this city, you must first serve this city. And that was excellent advice. He said, you need to volunteer, become part of the city. The city could use a great couple like you and your wife, Karen. That's my lovely wife, Karen, right over there. And so that's what I did. I signed up immediately to become a city volunteer. I've been, I have my page in on the city volunteer books ever since that same day I got that message. I have been a part of the city charter commission with former Mayor Bain, who's in the back there. I have served and helped fund, establish, and I'm the vice president of a local mental health foundation called the Engage and Heal Foundation, designed to provide mental health resources here in our community, specifically towards our high school. That is our goal. I have been a big advocate for the community. While somebody like Kara may have said it's tough to become an advocate when you're up there at the podium, I can tell you the city council members will tell you that I have become an expert at the 3-minute speech. I can make a point. I have been arguing for our community at that podium for the last 2 years. I have in effect been running for this job since I didn't get it the first time for the last 2 years. And that's what you're getting. You're getting somebody who is a veteran. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a husband. We have donated and given a large share of our wealth away to charity. We're big supporters of the Gary Cities Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project. Here locally, we're donors to the Lake Travis Crisis Ministries, and I was both a donor and a volunteer with the 1231 group during the last snowstorm. So I have thrown my heart into this community. I started serving our country at age 17 when I took my oath at the plane at West Point. That oath to protect the Constitution in our country had no expiration date, and I would ask that you allow me to continue my service as your mayor in this upcoming election. Thank you.
Most people familiar with Lakeway understand that Main Street to the east of HEB may get cut through to Loman's Crossing. The question is, do you have specific ideas about how that will be done, including who would pay for it, what landowners would be affected, how much would it cost, and what is the expected timeline? We're going to start with Gretchen.
So the one word in that question, may get cut through, actually will be cut through. That is a road that was in a development agreement with Stratus, which Stratus, if anyone knows, owns the Oaks, which is HEB, and all of the shopping that from Torchy's to Maud, that's the Oaks. So there has been some contention with Stratus over whether or not they would build this road, even though it was part of their development agreement. And actually Tom ran on this 2 years ago. He actually brought it to light that they did owe the city this road. So I wish it was that black and white to say, build the road, Stratus build the road. But there were some things that were not in order from some previous administrations that are now being placed in order by this current administration and by this council. And these things are coming to light. They are being worked out through negotiations with Stratus. To answer the question on the cost of the road, about $5 to $6 million. Now Stratus is only responsible for part of the road. Stratus builds the road from where the barriers are right now, which is the road that runs between Torchy's and the hotel, the strip that's there, the Bell, Gramercy, that strip goes down. And then it continues on into Legends development. So Legends, Hatham Dwallet and Bill Hayes with Legends, who were also the developers of Rough Hollow. They have a contract to purchase the Lakeway Mud property, which is being built and developed, has already been approved by council, and they are to take that road from the point of Stratus up to Wingren Loop, which is where it will come out where the Hills is. So we're excited about that. I would hope to see this road at least start construction in the next 18 months, if not the next 12 months. I think we are really close. I know that Sanjeev, and he will get into more detail, Sanjeev and Lewis actually were the council liaisons in the negotiations with Stratus that are continuing, and they report back to council. But I'll let Sanjeev get into a little bit more detail, but I'm excited about the road. I think that it needs to be completed before the construction on 620 begins, which is now delayed because those funds from TxDOT were pushed into the 35 expansion. And we know how long that's been taking. So our hope is that road will be at least partially complete before the 620 construction starts, so that we can start keeping things on this side of 620 for the citizens on this side, just because we don't need to be going out to 620 with that road completion. Thank you.
I guess I will follow all the rest of them here. I'll just sit and talk. So as Gretchen mentioned, I mean, frankly speaking, that is one of the main reasons I am seeking re-election. That is the one unfinished business from my point of view, which did not get done in this first term. We formed a PUD committee after I came on the council 22 months back. Me and Mr. Mastrangelo, along with the mayor, made up that committee along with the city staff. And we audited all the development agreements, found all the obligations which had not been met. We were successful in bringing the Highland Agreement to a new restated and amended agreement, which was signed, I think, last month. So that sort of fixed up all the agreement and the 8 amendments to that agreement, and it has come to a point where it can be objectively monitored and brings that agreement back into today's ordinances instead of ordinances from 1996 when the agreement started. Main Street, as Councilmember Vance mentioned, Stratus was supposed to build the road all the way to the edge of the property that was part of their development in the PUD, which goes beyond that little ditch behind the barricades today. The problem was somehow a big piece was missing. Their obligations was tied to whenever they decide to start developing the back lot. As some of you might know, they already sold the current Oaks to TA Realty. So they don't own the actual Oaks development anymore, but they still own the land behind. But because they are not starting the development, they say we don't have to build it as per the agreement, because there was supposed to be a separate Main Street agreement which was supposed to be signed. Somehow it never got executed. So as Gretchen mentioned, it is not as simple as saying you owe us that road, you build it. So we have looked at all the different options in the council, in the committee, and then in the council. We have looked at going from, hey, how about the city just build the road and assess it on Stratus because they owed it to us. How about we take a look at court action and make them build it. Problem is, the goal here is to get the road built, not tie it up into litigation for the next 5 years. The goal is to get the road built before 620 widening project starts. When I started running for, decided I'll seek re-election, that's what I said. I would like that road built by December of next year, so that I'm still on the council when that, at least, you know, the bridge is done and the road is happened. Legend already has, I think it's on the agenda item for Lakeway Mud for that piece of land to be, you know, the closing to be done. And I don't know if that meeting happened today or is happening this week. I got the notice of that. So they'll be closing on their piece of land and start developing that from the other side. We have looked at mechanisms like doing a PID, which is a planned infrastructure development, where you issue the bonds, but those bonds are not paid by the citizens. Those bonds are allocated to the properties which benefit from the infrastructure. So Legend's property, Stratus's property, the current property with TIA Realty, those are the properties which would be sort of subject to those bond taxes. It's also a good thing for the developer because city can generally raise those bonds at a lot cheaper rate than a private developer will get money from. And it is tied to their land so that if they default, the investors can foreclose on the land. But we are also talking to Stratus, which they have come back to the table, and you guys hopefully will see a presentation at the next special session of the council meeting, where they will present some proposals to the council and the citizens as to what their proposal is, how they will build the road. One thing is very, very clear. We do not want Lakeway taxpayers to pay for the road and the bridge, which the Lakeway taxpayers are not supposed to pay for. So we have looked at all different mechanisms and we will choose the best mechanism possible. But the plan is to get that road built by end of next year, come hell or high water, so that the nightmare which you might have on 620 when the widening project starts, you can avoid. So, I mean, anybody who is interested in learning more about it, contact me. I'll be happy to have a discussion and fill you guys in. You guys will see a lot more of that coming out now that, that ball is rolling again. Thank you.
Well, Sanjeev gave a lot of very, very good information. I'm not going to get that technical. I'm going to go a little bit higher level on that. It's really unfortunate that a previous council, set of council members kind of had a slip on that, because it's really affecting the Lakeway residents, right? The cut through traffic past Hops and Time, through Flores. I mean, the gates were locked for a period of time. Those were reopened. Anyone who lives in Lakeway will attest that that Main Street needs to be developed, or it needs to be extended out. I don't believe taxpayers should pay. I'm extremely fiscally conservative. I don't want to raise taxes. I don't want our tax dollars to pay for a glitch in the system that is here to support them and ensure that their best interests are in mind. But it does make sense if Legend Communities is starting to build on that southern portion and they're willing to build that. We do need to bridge the gap between the Oaks at Lakeway and the community that is will be built shortly. I have to take 620 to get to HEB because the cut through, I'm kind of a rule follower in some aspects. I don't like to cut through past Hops and Time. I know it's a big, I've actually almost gotten hit, rear-ended, or hit coming through and trying to back through that area. So again, I'm really hard-nosed. I may be small, I may be younger. My husband calls me the pint-sized terrorist for a reason. I will hold them accountable and I will ensure it gets done. Thank you.
Well, we all know that we've got to get this done before 620 starts. There's just no question about that. They're going to expand 620 from 4 lanes to 6 lanes with some additional access on either side. And if you know anything about DOT, it's going to be a massive, massive headache for years. So I don't know all the details of any current discussion, because they're all in these executive sessions at the City Council. However, I do know that we have 2 developers, Stratus and Legends, for most of the Main Street. We also have a side road coming off of the circle, which goes through a couple other property owners. So they're gonna have to be involved in this also. So there will actually be 2 ways to get in and back up to the Oaks. You know, I think that we're going to need to keep moving on this. I know that TxDOT is doing purchase of right-of-way now. They probably won't start construction for maybe 3 years or so. So we have some time, but we have to get moving. As it was mentioned, Legends, I think, is coming along with us. Stratus has been very reluctant for many years to get involved. They have the property, they have a PUD that is already approved. They just need to put the road in. They're hesitant because they're changing their own plans with the backside of their PUD. It was originally approved for garden homes, and now the second step was they wanted to put apartments back there. We rejected the apartments, and so I'm not sure what they're going to come back with now, but we definitely have to keep moving on this.
So, clearly the current administration has a distinct advantage in negotiations on this, and I want to commend all the current council people here that are working on the Main Street problem, because it has been a problem. As mentioned earlier, there were some mistakes made in the previous administration, things that should have been documented and written and committed to the agreement were overlooked, and there's some other missteps up in there. But those are lessons learned. The current council is doing a great job from what I can gather. They're doing the best they can, trying to bring all the parties together to negotiate and get this job done. I'm confident that the negotiations that they're currently in will be fruitful and will, as was mentioned by Gretchen and Sanjeev, that hopefully we'll get this thing started off in about 12 months. Legends, they're already committed, just like everyone else has said. We just need to get Stratus on board. Once we have Stratus on board, we can get Main Street done, we can get Burrell Street completed, and there's one other connecting street in there. There's three total streets, but I believe it's a total of a little over $10 million when you look at all of these streets being constructed to facilitate traffic. Once that's completed, I think it's certainly going to relieve a lot of traffic. It's going to provide a lot of great traffic flow for Old Round Rock, Rough Hollow, and most of everything this side of 620 to get over to HEB. Okay, but again, I just want to commend the current council. They've done a great job. I think we're going to get there. I want to be a part of that as the mayor. I want to shepherd that process and facilitate the implementation of that plan. And I also want to be very much involved in the 620 expansion. I have that experience working with TxDOT and doing integrated traffic control. So I think with that knowledge and working with TxDOT, we can really do some great work out here on 620 to make sure we have even traffic flow while we're having our traffic come in from our different arterial roadways as well. Thank you.
So I do thank the city council and the current mayor for everything they've done. This was actually a big issue for me 2 years ago. I think I shined a light on a problem that the city had, but didn't really have a way to focus on. They certainly picked up the topic and ran with it, and the current city council has done yeoman's work. And I salute all those members of city council and Mayor Cox for getting the Rough Hollow Development Agreement stabilized, as well as for doing the negotiations with Stratus. For technical points, the Stratus and Legends connection from the back of the Oaks to Lowndes Crossing is 0.6 of a mile. Okay? 0.6 of a mile. 2 lanes, 0.6 of a mile, 1 bridge. There's another option, just so you know, because this is one of the axioms you have when you grow up in the military. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Heck, most plans don't survive you trying to explain them to your driver, okay? So the other plan is, why do all of the candidates stick their signs at the little intersection by Hobson Time? That's because 3,000 cars a day roll through that parking lot. Okay, 3,000 cars a day roll through the parking lot. That's why we all put our signs there first. It's a no-brainer. But that road, Burrell, can connect to Lowndes Spur, and it's only 0.2 of a mile. and there are 3 landowners there, one of which is a gentleman I met when I first proposed that connection, and he's been very silent in the last 2 years. He owns that piece that would sit on the corner of Loman Spur and the extension of Burrell Drive. And he thinks he's going to be able to put a very nice commercial property in there. And he's probably right if we build the road, but whether or not he gets something out of it is completely indifferent to the fact that you and the rest of the residents of Lakeway get an even shorter way and possibly quicker way to build a road that extends, so you would come down Loman's crossing, turn on the spur by the police station, make a right-hand turn, and you'd be on Burrell, and then you could go into the back way to HEB while the larger road is being done. So we have 2 options here, and you know, I've been talking about these options and doing this since I started. The city's done a great job. Everybody should just really thank the city for what they've done, and I think they're going to get it done on the timeline. But there's also other things we can do, and I think the city should undertake and look at how we use our capital reserves to build. I mean, 2/10 of a mile. Pretty much we could rent a bulldozer and get the groundwork laid out pretty quick ourselves. If anybody has a cat license, let me know. Thank you.
So what Mr. Kilgore pointed out, I limited my answer to Main Street because that's what the question was. There is a reason to extend Burrell. I think that cut-through traffic will go away once the Main Street is built anyway. But it is necessary to extend Burrell and connect it to Loman's Spur. Problem is there are 4 property owners on that road. And the terrain is not as simple as taking a bulldozer and bulldozing it and putting a road in town. We have looked at it. Also the bridge, even though it is 0.6 miles, it is not as simple as just putting a 2-lane bridge. It's supposed to be a 4-lane road. We want to make a landmark inside the city, in the middle of the city. We want to do it right. There is a floodplain there. We have to. There are complexities. Trust me, we have not tried to just delay this project because it's in nobody's favor, Tom.
Good, healthy conversation. This is how we disagree and agree politely and professionally. Just saying that this could be, you know, other people could model this behavior. Okay, this year has been a difficult year due to COVID restrictions. The Austin mayor has refused to lift the mask mandate in defiance to Governor Abbott. Do you agree with continuing the mask mandate? And if not, what different policies would you implement for the city of Lakeway, if any? How can the city of Lakeway return to normal? Specifically address in-person council meetings, the 4th of July parade, and the Lakeway pool. I'll start with Tom.
Great. So obviously this is a very difficult question, and as a constitutionalist, I am struggling with the fact that the Travis County judge, I'll leave Mayor Adler different, because what Mayor Adler does has no influence on us. We care about Travis County and the Travis County judge. So the Travis County judge has refused to follow the lifting of the order, and we are subject to the rulings of the Travis County judge. And until that is resolved, I'm a little hesitant to say I don't think he's on the right course. I don't believe he is acting in a scientific manner. So in terms of that, I was conversing with the Assistant Attorney General, Mr. Reitz, who is litigating the case on behalf of the state, to see the mandate lifted, and he believes that we should indeed wait the 2 weeks that Judge Livingston, whose court I've been in, is a very good, Judge Livingston is the senior justice in the Travis County Court, is a very talented jurist, very equitable, very fair. I believe she will apply the law to the county and the city as the state constitution requires, and I'm willing to wait until we hear what that is. In terms of the city of Lakeway, I am fully supporting of returning to in-person meetings. I think that's, I think we can do that safely. I fully support that. In terms of the other events, I was with a member of city government at Cafe Lago earlier this week, and we were approached, as we sat outside and talked about the city and city government, we were approached no less than 3 times by 3 different parties, asked about the 4th of July parade. And we, both of us, it was a gentleman who's on the council, and myself, we're in the same agreement, is that it's an outdoor 4th of July parade, and by gosh, we should be able to figure out how to do that in this community. And I pointed out to one of the folks that even if the city decided that we weren't going to have the parade, we just end up with the same thing we had last year, which is we had a parade on our own. That's kind of what we do. We're Texas. Okay, so those are the things. I'm not certain about the issue with the pool, and I feel like I can't comment on that in an intelligent fashion, but the others I'm happy to weigh in on.
So, as a law enforcement officer, I will tell you that breaking the law is not a good idea. Okay? There's some ramifications for that, and I agree with what Tom said in the Travis County Judge. Until we get that reversed, we should go ahead and continue to abide by the mask mandate within the county. Okay? I also believe that we all have individual rights. Okay? So look at us in this forum right here today. We're all sitting here, none of us are wearing masks. We're all pretty much comfortable being here. I think these types of events are the first steps in opening up our community. All right. New studies are coming out. The 6-foot social distancing is now out the window. Okay, and it was based on some over 100-year-old data from 1918. Okay, so now we're at 3 feet. So if we're at 3 feet, just like the candidates for the school board had mentioned, there's really no reason why we can't open our schools. Again, that would be the first step to opening up our community, making sure our schools are open, our kids are going back to school. We open up our facilities here. City Hall should be open now. There's no reason for it to be shut or locked up at this point. I agree that we should have in-person council meetings right now. There's no reason why we can't do this. Our restaurants are open to 100% capacity. Why we're holding back is beyond me. We need to do this and move forward. In regards to the 4th of July parade, it is an outdoor event. I'm all for having a 4th of July parade. We can have, family units together. They can be together, your family and friends, people that you know that you've been around. There's no reason why we can't have our floats, have our parade, be a very patriotic community like it has been. That was one of the things that brought Rosie and I here in 2008, is coming to our first 4th of July event here. And I was absolutely amazed at the level of support and the patriotism this community exhibited and continues to exhibit. So with that said, I say, individuals, wear your mask, don't wear your mask. Let's abide by what the businesses want, so we don't infringe on their rights as well, but also wait for the county judge to do away with the mask mandate, and let's move forward and open up the rest of the county. Thank you.
You know, a lot of people talk about follow the science, use the facts. Well, it seems like there's more opinions than facts right now. It keeps changing. Everybody knows we're going. Some of it's from learning, which is good, but some of it is just opinions. And I'd like us to get back to some real science. And you can see that a lot of the schools in Texas are open now, where they're closed in California. So why is there that difference? It's all opinions. So anyway, I personally will be using a mask in indoor situations where it's really crowded. My wife and my daughter have both had cancer, and they have immune compromised immune systems, so I don't want to bring anything home. But I think it's everybody's individual responsibility to do what they need to do to keep themselves safe and their family safe. If that's no mask, that's fine. I do think that the city council should be open up now to citizens. They have enough room, even if it's 3 feet now, for probably 20 or 30 people. Probably usually the number of people that want to come anyway. And so it's a better way for citizens' participation to be there in front of the council and speak in your mind. I tried to get on, which I was on the last council meeting, and you have on the phone and there's a 30-second delay. It was just way too cumbersome for me. I think I'd rather like to do it in person. So let's follow, I guess, the rules where we have to, and I guess one of those is HEB now. Anyway, that's my stand. Thank you.
I have to politely disagree, Tom, about the power that Adler has. Adler and his buddy, Judge Andy Brown, he follows suit. Whatever Adler wants, Andy does. In fact, Andy Brown is actually in front of the Ethics Committee right now, Texas Ethics Committee, because he muted certain people in this room when we joined, or a few of us joined. I wasn't personally muted, but I joined to listen in about the mask debate. So, as like you said, I think Adler is important. When it comes to masks, I believe it's personal opinion. It is PPE, it's personal protection for yourself. If you want to protect yourself, I think that is your right. Those who do not want a mask, I don't believe that they should be frowned upon, harassed. I can tell you I have a medical exemption, and the amount of community looks and harassment I have received is, it's plain out bullying in this community. So I would be a proponent of actually bringing the Lakeway City Council back in person. I think that it helps hold, and hopefully I'm on City Council, it will help hold us all accountable. When you actually can physically see somebody and you're standing up in front of somebody, there's a lot more accountability that you have to take as a human. And also those who are coming in to speak, they should have that respect to be seen and heard in person. As far as the Lakeway parade, I'm 100% for it. I was one of those proud patriot Americans who actually got up early, decorated our car, my little four, they were 3 and 5 at the time, were fighting over like the little flags and how to put them out the window. It was a big celebration. I think we need to bring that back. I think our community is struggling. Our nation is struggling from such a huge division. And what more happiness than the 4th of July? It's not all about just the backyard barbecue, who's bringing the potato salad and who's grilling the hot dogs. It's about recognizing those who fought for our freedoms. As I mentioned earlier, we have a veteran nonprofit. It is one of our biggest family goals is to give back to those who gave their life and or a family member. So one of the other things, I think the last one was the pool. If you look at what the original GA23 stated, is if you were inside a pool or you're in a pool, you didn't have to have a mask. We all saw Adler in his penthouse at the W, who was also without a mask in the pool. So I would be a proponent of opening. Again, if somebody wants to wear a mask, that is all for, I support it. If you don't want to wear a mask at the pool, don't wear a mask. Thank you.
So I am a very big proponent of personal responsibility. We all have our freedoms, we all have a right to protect ourselves and our families. I generally do the right thing, but I hate when somebody tells me you have to do the right thing. So it's not one of those things where, Now, on the other hand, I was one of the people, March of last year, it's amazing, it was 1 year back, at the City Council meeting on March 16th last year. when we adopted the disaster declaration. I actually was the proponent of, initial plan was to limit the number of people gathering to 10 or 20 or whatever it was, and I said, we should just go to 50, from 50 to 20 right now, because the original plan was to 50, because it's going to happen. Because what was important was at that time to protect our citizenry, understand the problem, and the goal was not to overwhelm our healthcare system. I think we have learned that we will not overwhelm that healthcare system. I think the goal has changed. It has become, we have to be COVID-free before we can live our lives again. I think that's ridiculous, because I think we will live with COVID for the rest of our lives in some form and fashion. Now, with all that said, 4th of July parade should happen. I think people shall remain nameless, but we almost had a fight with me and some other council people a few months back about doing the council meeting in person. When we actually did the council meeting in the chamber, I said I will not attend if you do a Zoom call anymore, because the numbers have gone down, we need to open up. I won on that debate and we had the council meeting, but we went back to virtual meetings because the numbers, we had the second wave and the numbers started ticking back up, and so we shut it down. The only reason we had the last council meeting not in person was because it was already noticed for a virtual meeting. So we wanted to meet in person in March, but we could not, because we had an agenda item which required 2 weeks of advance notice, and we had already noticed it as a virtual meeting, so we had to hold it as a virtual meeting. Next meeting should be in person in April. As far as 4th of July parade is concerned, absolutely we should have it. Everybody needs to be respectful of other people. So if Keith says he has family members who are, have other comorbidities and are at higher risk, and he doesn't want to be around me unless I wear a mask, I will put a mask on. I mean, I respect him, I understand what he wants. All businesses, all people have their own preferences, but you cannot force me to wear a mask. In my opinion, if he asks me, I will wear it. He says, you have to wear a mask, I will tell Keith, okay, in that case I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying, right? Similarly, as a lawyer, I will tell you this. We had this debate about Adler versus the county. Whatever Adler decides really does not matter to Lakeway. But the reason it matters to Lakeway is Adler and Travis County, City of Austin and Travis County are two entities which pretty much everything is together. They do their press conference together, they make their decisions, only keeping Austin in mind. They forget the smaller cities like us exist. Now, it's a very standard rule. Federal law trumps state law trumps county, county trumps city. That's why we have to follow the county, but in this case, the county is in violation of the state order by the governor. So I do agree with Mr. Kilgore. I think the case will come out where the city and the county will be told to stop their mandate on masks. And I think that case is supposed to happen later this week. It was 2 weeks hearing. Yeah, so it's coming up, so we will know pretty soon what happens. Thank you.
Sorry, standing is a habit. Jennifer will find out that getting the microphone from Sanjeev is probably going to be the greatest debate that we have on this floor today. So here we are. One thing I didn't say at the beginning is that I'm a business owner here in Lake Travis. So my husband and I own Electric Avenue Athletics, which is right outside the Lakeway ETJ on Highway 71. And one thing that has really gotten us as a business is that these mandates that come down from the governor, and especially from Travis County, put the onus on mask wearing 100% on businesses. And you guys may say, well, how does that happen? Why is it any different for you? And let me tell you why that is. In September, Bobby, you may correct me, but I believe it was in September of 2020, I got a phone call from the Travis County Fire Marshal. And he knew me from council. And he said, Councilmember Vance, I have a problem I need to discuss with you. And I said, okay, what's going on? We've had a complaint that your facility is violating the mask mandate. I said, okay. Can you tell me when this complaint, or I didn't want to know who made the complaint. That didn't matter to me. I don't care what your name is. But I said, can you tell me what the nature of the complaint is? No, ma'am, I can't. Was it a parent? I don't know. Was it an employee? I don't know. So I said to him, well, how would you like me to fix that? He said, I don't know. And so there's the onus on business, right? How do I fix something that I don't know how to fix? I don't know where the problem was, but this is what I will tell you. We facilitate 400 children a week through our facility. We have not had one case of COVID that has been attached to our facility. Our instructors wear masks because of the mandate, because of the threat from the fire marshal, which is, I will revoke your certificate of occupancy if you do not wear this, if you don't dictate that your staff and your parents wear this mask. Now, we've taken the mandate and we've shredded it apart, and students of our facility are mask optional because they're working out. But when you're an instructor of a ninja course and you're literally guiding a 45-pound child through a ninja course, you're working out too, right? So we took the precautions that we could as a business. Garage doors are open, air's flowing through, air conditioner filters are changed, we're disinfecting, we're vacuuming, we're doing everything, in my opinion, obviously right, because here we are, 15 months later, and we don't have a case of COVID accredited to the gym. So, do masks work? I don't know, do they? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Our kids are mask free. We don't have cases of COVID in our gym. So I will be one that is very happy when Travis County, hopefully on March the 26th, hopefully Judge Livingston will get in line with Governor Abbott and make this optional for businesses. It's really put a burden on business. And it's put a burden there, not because the mandate exists, but because they don't tell us how to regulate the mandate. And therein lies the problem, right? So that's my conversation on businesses and mask mandates and why it really kind of gets onto business. Back to Sanjeev in regard to city council meetings. I'm on Sanjeev's side. We're very much pro in person. Gretchen falls asleep on Zoom calls. Makes it a little bit difficult. Listen, it's a long day. Our meetings are long. They go till midnight and we're all kind of bobbing around. I've had a 10-hour day and you come back to a meeting, it's much more engaging in person. I'd rather see your face, not hear your voice. But he is correct. The last meeting, Cherry Knoll came in front of council to present an item. It was noticed. It has to be noticed 2 weeks out. It was noticed as a virtual meeting. It was prior to the governor's lifting of the mask mandate, so therefore that's what we did. Had a little talk with Julie Oakley today, our city manager, and I said, are we having the 4th of July parade? Jennifer asked me a question and I want to answer it. And I want to answer it right. Are we having the 4th of July parade? She said, I want to have the 4th of July parade. Okay, that's your first hurdle. Your city manager says, I want to have the 4th of July parade.
I went around her. I did it myself.
I know. I wanted to have it last year, right? Like it's outside, let's have it. Like, I mean, I'm a daughter of a military officer, and when that flag is handed to you from your grandfather's coffin, it means something, right? It's my favorite holiday. It's important to our family. And you want to celebrate that flag. It's important. And if it's not important to you, well then, we just want to talk about that. So it's important to our family. That flag's important. So that holiday is important. So I said to her, and does anybody know what she thinks the biggest hurdle is to not having that parade? Anyone? To not have it. What's the biggest hurdle to having it? What's the biggest hurdle to having this parade this year? Anybody want to garner a guess? Yes, sir.
To get everybody together and get it planned out and done, it takes long.
Lack of volunteers, right? It's lack of volunteers. The volunteer community in Lakeway is notoriously retired folks that have built this city,
I
right?
can do it in a week.
Okay,
Give it to me.
and I get it. So here's my charge for you, right? get on the City of Lakeway's comment tonight and say, I want to volunteer for the 4th of July parade, right? We're gonna have some elderly folks that have comorbidities. They don't feel comfortable, and I get it, like I totally understand. So for those of us that don't, let's step up and become those volunteers, okay? Let's make it happen. To me, it's the best event of the year, and I love it. So, thank you.
Okay, we are running out of time.
The pool is open, by the way. The pool is open. You don't have to wear a mask in the pool. The pool is open. It will be open for the summer at 100%.
Awesome. Okay, we have 11 minutes, candidates. So that's 2 minutes apiece. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10-ish, right? 2 minutes apiece. 2 minutes. Listen, 2 minutes. I'm gonna propose all 3 of the remaining questions, and you can use 2 minutes to either answer one of those questions or 30 seconds on all of them, right? The City of Lakeway has many volunteer boards and commissions. Would you make any changes to how these members are chosen? If so, what? Was the Lakeway Police Department budget reduced? If so, by how much and why was it reduced? Are you in favor of restoring the police department budget? And last, what is one thing you would like to work on if elected to the council? If you are an incumbent or you already served, have you already tried to work on your one thing? And have you succeeded or failed? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, a lot of topics, 2 minutes, so let's talk fast. The one thing I'd like to do is make sure that we install a reverse 911 system that goes out to text. My Austin telephone got all kinds of texts, but I had to rely on social media and email and declining power to hear from our city. I think we need to do that. Was the city police budget reduced? Technically, yes, by 1%. It was 1%. It was not reduced in terms of the personnel accounts. They were the same, but there was a total reduction. And then what you had was an offset where Chief Radford, through careful supply management and operations, found a 7% offset. So we had a reduction. It ended up being net 1%. I believe that the fact that from year to year, Todd Radford, our Chief of Police, excellent police officer, has not spent the entire allocation of his budget. Last year, he returned about $400,000 to the city. So I think 1% variance is probably something that if Todd gets there, they'll find how to fix that. And then boards and commissions, I think you just heard Councilmember Vance say, if you're out there, you need to get your volunteer form in. That's how I started my speech. Somebody told me, Tom, you need to volunteer. I filled out the form, I volunteered. I've been on that list for 2 years. I've served on a commission. I've helped out in the community. And the way you get more diverse and representation of the volunteers is you go out and solicit more people to volunteer. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, what was the first question again?
Boards and commissions, police department, and here's the one thing you really like.
Okay, on the boards and commissions, I agree. If you want to be a part of the boards and commission, then you need to sign up and volunteer. But as I understand it, each council member gets to appoint somebody on a particular board. That's not correct? No. No? Then I misunderstood that. Okay. But anyways, if you want to be a part of the board or commission, you need to sign up and be a part of the volunteer process. In regards to the police budget, yes, it was reduced by 1%, about $60,000. So were 3 other departments. So I don't see that as defunding the police department by any means, okay? It is merely, from looking at the budget, it could be as simple as not approving a single vehicle for this year as opposed to last year or whatever the case may be. But defunding any police department by definition would mean that it was the only department that was defunded or had funds moved, and it was moved over to some social activity that the council or the mayor wanted it to happen. That was not the case in this particular incident. And one thing I would change is the length of the city council meetings, okay? One of the things that I would look at doing is something that I was accustomed to, and that is to have a packet briefing where you would have a packet briefing first thing in the morning about in the same week that the council meeting was, okay? You have the presentation by all of the department heads who were presenting at that particular time. All the questions were asked by the council members. All that stuff was vetted out. It's an open meeting, and it usually it was about a 2-hour meeting, maybe 2.5-hour meeting, and then it ended. So by the time you got to council, all those questions that would normally have been asked had already been asked and answered. You go through the motions, you get all that stuff done, and you move on. So that really shortens down your council. Now there are some other pieces of that you have to deal with, and they're in regards to executive sessions, but that's limited in scope, okay? So that'd be the one thing that I would change.
So go with the boards and commissions right now. I think the process still is that we need all the volunteers to apply that we can, first of all. Those volunteers get reviewed by the chairman of that commission or committee, the representative from the city council to that committee, and the city manager. So you've got 3 independent people that are reviewing all these, and they usually make a good decision, and they love to make a lot more decisions because we need all the volunteer help we can get. As far as what I want to do when I get on the council, one of the things I want to spend a lot of time on is transportation. We have a lot of challenges from all the roads within Lakeway. The most comments that I get right now are, what are we going to do with Flint Rock Road? What are we going to do with Serene Hills Road? You know, so we need to really focus on that, and that's a long-term piece of work. The police department. If there was a reduction in the police department, I think it's the whole process of doing the budget. Every department gets reviewed, and if they're looking to reduce overall, they're going to come back for a little bit from everybody. So it wasn't targeted to the police department. It was a general task to try and reduce taxes overall.
I'm going to address police first because the other 2 questions kind of go hand in hand. For police, I definitely support our police. I mean, we have a veteran nonprofit for a reason. We're thankful for those who fight for our freedoms. That carries down into law enforcement. So any defunding the police, I would never support that. If there's a surplus, I would actually recommend additional training so that they can actually get trained, even have higher skill set to protect us. As far as the commissions and what I would like to do, I would like to call out the white elephant in the room. I'm a little bit younger than some of the candidates sitting up here. I was actually contemplating running for school board, and I got asked to run, would you be interested in running for city council? There is a huge change in our demographics here in Lakeway, as we all know. I've been here 14 years. When I first moved here, I was, well, I'm 14 years older now, and that's to date myself. But there are a lot of young, very savvy, intelligent people who live in our city. They are moving here just like I did. I moved here to live here, grow my family here, and die here. I have decades. They are the same mindset. Why not right now get these folks into our committees, involved with our city council meetings, our commissions, so that they are learning from the very knowledgeable people that are up on this stage and that are in our existing city councils and mayors, etc. So that's one of the things that I would like to do, is bridge that gap. It just takes one person saying, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And then all of a sudden, at about midnight, after I had a 3-year-old or 4-year-old wake up, I'm watching past city council meetings. I'm reading the comprehensive plan is 80-some pages, I believe. So I read the entire thing front to back. I wanted to know what I was getting into before I actually decided to run for city council versus school board. I'm glad that I got asked that question, and that's why I'm here today, and that is one thing that I will do. So again, I will loop in all of the younger people, try to raise them up and get them educated on the city. So as there's more vacancies and things that open, we have the right people to step into there. Thank you.
So I will start with the police department. So I would like to say this. There are not too many cities where they support their police department the way City of Lakeway does. Now, I will also say this. Anybody who is propagating that police department in Lakeway was defunded is propagating a false narrative. They are propagating a lie. Police department budget from last year's budget was 7% higher than what they spent last year. Budget to budget, there were 61,000 round numbers less. That was because $25,000 was saved in the insurance cost, which went down, and their insurance cost for the police building was 25 grand less. 15,000 was less because of cheaper fuel. $23,000 was less because we hired a janitorial staff instead of paying a third party, and all the janitorial budget is now part of general and administrative budget instead of being in the police department budget. I can go through number of line items. So anybody who says we defunded the police, please do a little bit of digging before assuming and agreeing to something which you hear from somebody. Committees and commission. If my memory serves me correctly, Ethics Board, Board of Adjustment, and Charter Review Committee are the three committees and commissions where each council member and the mayor appoints a member. Every other committee and commission is confirmed by the council, but the mayor picks the people, and those people come from that volunteer list. If you want to change how to do that, you have to change the city charter. Maybe we can give that for the next Charter Review Committee to look at when they are formed next time around. And the third question was, what one thing? I will just continue. I ran originally to try to fix transportation problems and have encourage responsible development to preserve the city character. And I have achieved something. We achieved together the Highland Agreement. We are close to getting the Main Street plan in place. I will continue doing that. And the third piece is transparency and trust in the city government. We have tried to make the city government a lot more open. I'd like to continue to create that sense of service-oriented government instead of the government which creates obstacles and roadblocks in citizens and businesses' way. Thank you.
So to Sanjeev's point, he was absolutely bang on in regard to the police budget, so I'm not going to rehash that. Those numbers are correct. $25,000 in savings for insurance, the janitorial staff that was a contract, like a service for the police station, is now in general services as a full-time employee. The list goes on and on. So the onion doesn't really look like the onion when you start peeling all the layers back, right? So it looks a little bit different. In regard to, I wanted to touch on something about city council meetings. Here's my issue with packet review. I don't know about you guys, raising 8 kids, running a business, taking care of a husband, 3 dogs, a yard in the city of Lakeway, which you know you have code compliance on that. I don't have time as a citizen who wants to participate to go to a meeting in the morning and then come back at night. Like, let's, one or the other, it doesn't matter to me, but we need to front load it one or the other. That's why we're asking our citizens to come to 1 meeting, not 2 during the day, and you can't ask a meaningful question if you weren't in packet review. So let's do it then. There are other ways to reduce that, allowing staff to have a little bit more control where you trust your staff to do the right thing. So there are some things that we can peel away from council that doesn't make it as arduous of a process as it sometimes can be. But it's also kept us from making mistakes, and I think that's really important. If it takes 6 hours to sit down and peel every layer of the onion back to make sure that we're not making a mistake, that we're looking at the Texas Constitution so we're not making an error, then by God, let's take 6 hours, because it's gonna save us hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees down the road if we make an error. So I don't have an issue with that. In regard to the things that I want to accomplish, I was the liaison for the traffic committee this year. What was last year? And then we finished up right before COVID hit. The transportation committee's packet has turned in and has been approved for the city's thoroughfare plan. It's a really cool document. You guys should spend some time looking at it. It talks about what the future of Flint Rock is. It talks about roads that are being looked at for the future. It talks about multi-use paths where you can get back and forth from the heart of Lakeway to the Oaks without ever having to get in your car, get in your golf cart, get on your bicycle, do something, walk, right? Get out there and enjoy what Lakeway has to build. So that would be, I would love to see some of those things come into play. I think multi-use paths are great for connectivity inside of our city. But there are some other little connective roads that can make a really big difference. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing through in my next 2 years. I'm number 5 on the ballot. Number 2, number 1, 4, 2, 3, 5, and Steve, 2. Yes, okay, so there you go. The most important thing you can do is vote, right? It's the most important thing you can do. And tell your friends to vote. You don't have to tell them to vote for me, to get them to the booth, right? Put them in the back of the buggy, get them up to the center, and let's get everyone voting. Thank you guys, have a great night. Thank you for your time and for being here.
Awesome, thank you. So, you guys are dismissed, thank you very much.